Hello trainers, Professor Palm here, and it feels like just yesterday I played my first game ever. Pokémon Emerald was my start to the whole world of Pokémon. This game changed my life forever. While it was a great game, and I started off, of course, with a little Torchic, I quickly realized that I can't always rely on my little starter to save me out of everything. So I went on a journey and caught many Pokémon throughout the Hoenn region. And that's what I did. I went all around the Hoenn region and caught so many Pokemon. This may not be everything that I caught for a team, but these were members that really helped me in tight spots, brought me victory against gym leaders, the Elite Four, and the Champion, and most of all, these are all team members that got me places and made me the trainer and the professor that I am. Well, there were so many lines in the Hoenn region that we could all look at. There is one particular line that still stands out to me for many reasons. First of all, does anyone here like the Steel type? I have to say, I never fancied the Steel type before, mainly because it only had, well, before Generation 6, one strength, and it was to Rock type Pokemon, while it had so many weaknesses. How can you make a Pokemon like that? It's crazy. However, I have to say, capturing this Pokemon and seeing it evolve really changed my mind forever. I'm of course talking about the Iron Armor family with Aron, Lairon, and of course, Aggron. These were the Steel-type Pokemon that made me realize not only are Steel-type Pokemon amazing and strong, but at times they can be indestructible. As a kid, I really loved armor. I really liked seeing it when knights would wear it in the movies or even seeing some of the armor on display, but I also loved samurais. I gotta say, seeing anyone in armor was so cool, and seeing Pokemon wearing armor was amazing! After all, there really wasn't anything similar to this. I mean, maybe Mewtwo when it had that battle armor on, but that's a much different story. These are Pokemon that make their own armor, at the same time also look like their own armor. How cool is that? While every member of my team is always seen as an equal, I will say one thing. I know that a fact that Aggron, Lairon, and Aron brought me so many victories when I played them the first time in the Hoenn region with Emerald. And you can bet how much I love these Pokemon. I love them so much that when the remakes came out, I jumped at the opportunity to get them. And in any other game where I can get them, you bet my Pokeball is going for an Aron. I know I could probably start off with the Lairon and then get to the Aggron, but I'm someone who likes the whole armor process. I like how it starts from the little tiny guy to becoming the big strong warrior who looks unstoppable. But before we begin and talk about this incredible armor line, I want to give a very special thanks to fellow subscriber Mitchell Hockman, aka Mitt. You have great taste, my friend. I have to say, just like you, I love this line. While it's not going to be my favorite Steel-type Pokemon, as that spot goes to Lucario, I would definitely say that these guys come a close second. Well, maybe at the number 2. While I'm thanking you right now, you're not the only one I'm thanking today. Speaking of Steel types, I'd like to give a very special thanks to artist HTTP Koopa for my Steel jersey. This is one of the few jerseys that you could buy at the jersey stand in any of the Pokemon games. After all, there was no Steel-type gym leader in the Galar region, but I like the fact that Pokemon went the extra mile to include every typing in case one of your favorite typings wasn't made. Oh, and if you really like this design that HTTP Koopa made for me, then you can check him out on Etsy. He makes incredible designs, and all of them are affordable and will look great on you. So, why not give a talented artist like HTTP Koopa some good business? Also, when wearing the Steel-type jersey, not only will you look sharp, but you'll also look indestructible. So, trainers, I'm curious to know, do you like any characters who wear armor from anime or TV? Oh, and if any of you are cosplayers, have you ever wanted to go to a con wearing a suit of armor or something, but it's just too hard to make and you don't know how to be a good blacksmith? Well, let me tell you, with Aggron, Lairon, and Aron, they got you covered. After all, these Pokemon make their own armor, and they definitely can help you make an armor too. So, if you want to do this, then maybe catch yourself one of these Pokemon. But maybe we should talk all about them, and let's start off with the little blacksmith and armor maker itself, Aron! Aron the Iron Armor Pokemon is based on the Korean legend monster Bulgasari, which was a monster that ate lots of metal and iron. Its armored body also draws inspiration from the dinosaur, the Ankylosaurus. This is the one that had the armored body and the mace tail. Despite this, Aron does not have a tail. For its habitat, Aron lived deep in the mountains, and it has a body composed of solid steel. In order for Aron to keep its body shiny, sharp, and to make its iron armor, Aron has a diet of iron ore, which it digs up and enjoys feeding on. Its iron body really comes in handy for digging. However, eating a diet of iron ore in a mountain isn't usually enough. The main reason why is because there are so many Aron that make their home in the mountain, and they oftentimes steal from one another or get to the iron ore before the other one. For most Aron, it's first come, first serve, and instead of going hungry, Aron decide to be smart and look elsewhere for their fill of metal. When talking about eating metal, I don't mean just normal metal. Aron will eat anything that's metal. These pesky metal-eating Pokemon leave the mountains to find other metals to eat. This includes rails, bridges, automobiles, and even steel mills aren't safe from this Pokemon's hungry tummy, making them little metal pests. It's crazy that such a little steel Pokemon has such a big appetite and a huge stomach. Aron are so hungry sometimes that these Pokemon can eat an entire car in less than 30 minutes. Yep, those are some powerful jaws if you ask me. I don't think anything wants to get bit by that. The fact that this thing can eat metal with ease and even digest it proves that this Pokemon not only has an incredible digestive system, but it has literal jaws of steel. Never judge a book by its cover. Despite Aron's small size, it's strong. With one all-out charge, and Aron has the strength to demolish a heavy dump truck going at full speed. Aron's iron body is so strong that it can fall down a steep hill and not even feel a thing after a long fall. All those rocks will be demolished the moment it makes contact with them. Some legends state that in olden times, Aron's indestructible iron armor was so strong that it would even shatter the heaviest of swords, making this Pokemon a pretty good shield to have by your side. Aron are experts when it comes to armor building. I'm pretty sure back in the medieval times, a lot of knights relied on Aron to get the medals as well as help them build the armor. After all, this Pokemon has an incredible suit of armor. Speaking of which, a new suit of armor is made for Aron when it evolves. Just like how a butterfly leaves a cocoon behind, Aron's old armor is discarded after it evolves. Even though Aron are leaving a perfectly good suit of armor behind, it never goes to waste. Many people find it and salvage it. If you're drinking a can of soda right now, it's possible that that can at one point was an iron armor owned by an Aron. So many metal products are made because of Aron's armor. Oh, and back in the days of the medieval times, or even days of war, some soldiers made swords, shields, and even their own armor out of the discarded armor made by an Aron. And sometimes some people took a peaceful route and just made cups out of it. Aron made its anime debut in the Pokemon Advance series episode, A Whole Lot of Trouble. One of them was under the ownership of champion Steven Stone, and the others were all wild. They chased Ash and his friends, as well as Team Rocket, all throughout the Granite Cave. They only did this because Team Rocket had disturbed the peace, as well as Ash and his friends. In the games, Aron has two different abilities. Its most well-known ability, of course, is Sturdy. This ability allows Aron not to be one-hit KO'd. Not by one-hit KO moves, but anything. After all, Rock and Steel is a very dangerous typing that has a lot of weaknesses. Having 1 HP ensured is always a good thing for this little Pokemon. And the other ability that an Aron could have is Rock Head. While this may not leave it with 1 HP left, it does something a little bit better. Since Aron and its family learn a lot of moves that have recoil damage, Rockhead prevents it from hurting itself with recoil damage, which can really be helpful as this Pokemon has a lot of weaknesses, so having full health can really be easy and you never have to worry about hurting yourself. And as of Generation 5, which introduced hidden abilities, Aron's hidden ability is Heavy Metal, which makes perfect sense. After all, it is a little tiny metal Pokemon. Oh, and what Heavy Metal does is it may make you a little slower, but it makes you much heavier and much stronger. So if you hit them with a move like Heavy Slam, oh boy, you'll be doing a lot of damage. Aron might be small, but this Pokemon packs quite a heavy punch. For such a small Pokemon, Aron definitely knows how to make incredible, indestructible iron armor. Just look at this Pokemon. It's so smart. While it does like to eat metal and it can be a pest, it definitely does make up for its incredible skills, especially when it battles. It's a shame that Aron oftentimes has to adopt new armor. After all, it gets bigger and it has to change its armor. But I think it's time we evolve our little Aron and see what other armors it can create. So, let's evolve our little Aron into Lairon. Trust me, this Pokemon has armor that's indestructible. Lairon, the Iron Armor Pokemon, is based on the Korean legend monster, the Bulbasaur. Just like with its previous evolution in Aron, Bulbasaur was a monster from Korean mythology that would eat lots and lots of metal and would cause a lot of damage to villages. However, if you look very carefully at Lairon's body and see the spikes on its back, it also draws influence from dragons, but it also draws a little influence from dinosaurs, mainly the Stegosaurus. For its habitat, Lairon live on mountains. They like to live near places that have fresh spring water and iron ore. After all, that is Lairon's diet. By drinking the highly nutritious minerals found in the spring water until it's bloated, and with eating a lot of iron ore, Lairon's body gets stronger and its armor becomes even sharper, and sometimes it becomes even shinier. Lairon are territorial Pokemon, and they fight with other Lairon and humans. After all, they're not the friendliest, and they really don't like having invaders in their territory. When two Lairon fight one another for their territory, their steel bodies collide. What makes it so amazing to watch is you can watch sparks fly off of both of their bodies. The more of the sparks that fly off one of the Lairon's bodies, the stronger it looks in its opponent's eyes. The sound of the collision of two Lairon fighting is so powerful that it carries on for miles, just like the sound of thunder. So if you hear the sound of steel clanging, most of the time, just know that it's possibly two Lairon fighting for a territory. A Lairon fight can go on for hours. The only way you can tell that someone won the fight is if one is standing. Yep, it's the last one standing, but it has to be standing up on all four legs. If it's on its side, then you know that the fight has been lost by that Lairon. At least they do show good sportsmanship and they usually leave after the fight. Or sometimes they have other Pokemon push them over so they can walk away. While Lairon bodies look fine and stainless even after violent fights, if you look very carefully at your Lairon and you check its steel armor, you'll realize that it has a couple of small scratches and it even has dents and cracks all over it. While the armor is strong, it's not indestructible. Wild Lairon are also shown that they do not get along well with humans, especially miners. Since Lairon make their homes near iron mines, they often attack the miners because they're disturbing its home and territory. Just like with its previous evolution in Aron, Lairon can oftentimes be a pest, but not the same way as Aron was, as Lairon are more pests to miners. The main reason for this is because Lairon has a sweet tooth for steel as well as iron ore. So yeah, it'll oftentimes eat the mining equipment as well as the harvested iron ore. And sometimes it also digs holes in where the mining site is, which can be a real problem for a lot of workers. Ever played a game of Dig Dug? Well, Lairon is a master of that game. After all, it really enjoys digging holes in the mountains, and with its sharp metal claws and spiky back, Lairon can tear through a mountain and ground with ease. Sometimes this Pokemon is seen as a drill. Lairon made its anime debut in the Pokemon Advanced Challenge episode, A Fan with a Plan. It was under the ownership of a coordinator by the name of Savannah. The next episode, it took on May's Bulbasaur in the contest and defeated it with ease, but then it lost to Drew's Masquerain. In the games, Lairon can have two different abilities if you catch it. The first one it could have is Sturdy. As of Generation 5, Sturdy keeps the Pokemon with only 1 HP, so yeah, knocking out a Lairon with the ability of Sturdy will not be an OTKO. It'll still have the ability to fight back, but with all the weaknesses that Lairon has, especially with its ×4 weaknesses, this is a blessing. And Lairon's other ability is Rockhead, which can really come in handy as Rockhead negates recoil damage. Since this line learns a lot of moves that have recoil damage, This can really be helpful as you don't have to worry about any of that hurting you, and because they're very heavy as well as very strong, they'll do major damage without ever injuring themselves in battle. When Generation 5 came around and introduced the hidden abilities, Lairon and its line also gained the exact same hidden ability, being heavy metal. While this unfortunately lowers the speed, it makes it much stronger and much heavier. So if you have to hit it with a very heavy hitting move, like Heavy Slam, it'll do major damage. Lairon's armor is very strong, and it's also something you really don't want to mess with, especially seeing how almost indestructible this armor can be. But if you want to see what a true Pokemon warrior in armor looks like, then let's evolve our little Lairon into Aggron. Trust me, if you were to see a knight in shining armor in the world of Pokemon, Aggron is as close as you'll ever get. Aggron the Iron Armor Pokemon is based on the Korean legend monster, the Bulgasari, which is a monster that ate lots of metal and iron, just like with its previous evolutions of Lairon and Aron. Something really interesting also is that Aggron can also be seen as based off of the Triceratops with its horns and its head, but also its helmet-like head is very reminiscent of gladiator helmets and knight helmets. For its habitat, Aggron doesn't just claim a little part of the land, it claims an entire mountain as its own territory. And Aggron is so protective of its territory's environment that if its mountain is ravaged or anything happens to it, destroying it, Aggron would haul topsoil in the area, plant trees, and even dig a pond just to restore its territory's beauty. Aggron is so protective of its territory that anything or anyone that walks into the territory is in for a merciless beating, as Aggron really don't take well to intruders. Since a lot of people and Pokemon carelessly wander into a wild Aggron's territory very often, Aggron vigilantly patrols its territory just to ensure that nothing comes in. If you're not careful, you're in for a world of pain, not just from its iron horns and not just from its iron tail, but from its fist of iron fury. Aggron's horns are its most standout feature, and trust me, these horns you need to watch out for, as these are some of the most powerful horns ever introduced in the world of Pokemon. Aggron's horns are so strong and so sharp that they can break through bedrock as if it was styrofoam. Aggron's horns also come in handy for when it digs. Because Aggron owns an entire mountain for a home, it's curious and it's an explorer, so it likes to dig holes and see if it can find metal and even iron ore to eat. The horns come in handy as a little set of drills, which allow Aggron to dig through the ground as if it's a knife going through a stick of butter. Aggron's horns also come in handy for telling what age it is. You see, these horns grow very slowly over time, so the longer the horns are on an Aggron, the older it is. With the incredible strength Aggron has, as well as how long it's been around for, there are many legends of Aggron. There's a good one that says, long ago, there was a king who loved his Aggron. He loved it so much that he wore a helmet to represent an Aggron, because he thought he could channel the exact same strength that his Aggron does. Aggron is definitely an unstoppable creature, and it has a pretty tough set of armor. But sadly, this armor is not indestructible. You see, the more battles it's had, the more gouges, tears, dents, and even cracks you'll see on its iron armor. While Aggron has the ability to make new armor as well as fix any of the damages to its old armor, some Aggron prefer to see these breaks in their armor as signs of victory, as Aggron like to fight for their pride and they always like to look as strong as they can be. It's even said that the more damage in Aggron's armor is, the stronger it's become and the stronger it's adapted. Thanks to Professor Sycamore's research in the Kalos region, Aggron is capable of Mega Evolution. While we don't have a ton of info of what it can do, we do know this: it's the only dual-type Pokemon to lose a typing upon Mega Evolution. If you didn't know, Aggron is a Steel and Rock-type Pokemon, but when it Mega Evolves, it loses its Rock type to become a pure Steel-type Pokemon. Aggron made its anime debut in the Pokemon Advanced Series episode, A Whole Lot of Trouble. It was under the ownership of Steven Stone, and this Pokemon blasted Team Rocket into oblivion with its move, Hyper Beam. In the Core Series game, Aggron has two different abilities. The first one, of course, is Sturdy, which as of Generation 5, at least leaves you standing with 1 HP, ensuring that you don't die with 1 hit, which is pretty good. After all, being a Steel Rock-type Pokemon, you have a lot of ×4 weaknesses. And just like with its other evolutions, Aggron's other ability is Rock Head, which prevents it from taking any recoil damage. Since this line learns a lot of moves that do have recoil damage, having that Rock Head ability makes battling very easy. When Aggron Mega evolves into Mega Aggron, it gains a new ability, being Filler, which reduces the damage from super effective attacks. And since Steel-type have a lot of weaknesses, it's a good thing that now it won't be hurt as much. Just like with the rest of its line, Aggron has the hidden ability, Heavy Metal. Since this Pokemon has a body made of iron armor, that's a hit you will never forget. This unfortunately lowers Aggron's speed, but with that heavy attack, I think it's worth it. For Champion Steven Stone's team, Aggron serves as his second in command for the team. It also serves as the divider. After all, this is the Pokemon that's both Rock and Steel, the two things that Steven Stone specializes in. While Metagross is his main Pokemon, as well as Mega Metagross, Aggron acts as the protector to make sure everything goes smoothly before the final boss comes out. And in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of the Sky, Aggron is a boss Pokemon who is the boss of the Boulder Quarry. Being a Rock and Steel-type Pokemon, Aggron, Lairon, and Aron have many weaknesses. Well, these are the ones that you should avoid. When in battle, never use your Aggron, Lairon, or even Aron against water, but water is the only weakness that's ×2. Everything else against these Pokemon is ×4. With Aron, Lairon, and Aggron's ability of Sturdy, it seems like a blessing. After all, these Pokemon have 2 ×4 weaknesses, when most Pokemon have only 1. So be sure that your Sturdy ability helps you out because it's very weak against Pokemon that are Fighting type. And this line is also very weak to Ground type attacks. Wow, 2 ×4 weaknesses is a lot. At least it only has 3 weaknesses. Why don't we look at all of their strengths? Are there enough to make up for other weaknesses? Spoiler alert, yes there are. It's a good thing to know that Aggron, Lairon, and Aron have many strengths. After all, they have a lot of ×4 weaknesses. So, if you want to use them competitively in battle, it's best to use these Pokemon against Pokemon that are Fire type, Flying type. Most ironic of all of their strengths is that they're also strong against Rock type Pokemon, despite being Rock type Pokemon, Ice type, Bug type, and as of Generation 6, Fairy type. Wow, this Pokemon may have a lot of weaknesses, but it has a lot of strengths, just showing how strong that armor and strength really come when it goes to battle. I have a theory that's on my head that I really would like to share with all of you, and it's that possibly Bastiodon and Aggron's lines are connected. The main reason why is, while Bastiodon is based off the Triceratops, and this thing also draws inspiration from Triceratops, is it possible that maybe they're distant cousins or distant relatives? Or is it even possible that Aggron didn't live in the Stone Age, but instead is what the survivor Bastiodons became when they needed to adapt? After all, Bastiodon and Shieldon went extinct, but as we all know, Aggron, Lairon, and Aron all exist to this day. Is it possible that they're one and the same? I mean, they have a lot of similarities. Think about their armor that they're both wearing. They're the same color. Also, Lairon and Shieldon look very similar to one another. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I just wanted to share it with all you trainers. What do you think? I have to be honest, my major gripe with Steel-type Pokemon a lot is that they don't learn any Steel-type moves. For the Aggron line, that is thankfully not the case. These Pokemon learn so many Steel-type moves, and with their abilities, they're very helpful in battle. The first time I ever used this line was in Pokemon Emerald, my first playthrough ever, and I have to say, going on the journey with Aron, Lairon, and Aggron, aka the old Iron side I had, was incredible. These things always had my back. Not only were they powerful, but they were a force unstoppable, like wearing a suit of armor that can't be broken. As a kid, I really loved knights, and I also really liked samurais, so seeing Pokemon that had armor on them really made me happy. I have to say though, since Aron, Lairon, and Aggron make their own armor, maybe if you gain their trust and you become very close with them, they'll help you build your own armor. So, look at that! You'll be a team of armor. Heh, maybe you could call yourself the Iron Legion. While this entire line has a lot of weaknesses, and it can be very weak without the ability of Sturdy, I have to say, I like to look at the good it has. Other than the armor, it's a very strong Pokemon line, and it's always fun to bring them with you. So, yeah, how about instead of looking on the bad side, we look on the good side? Or in this case, we're looking on the iron side. If you're a fan of attack and defense, but you don't really care for speed, well, then look no further than the Aggron, Lairon, and Aron line. These Pokemon know how to go metal. And I have to say, if you really want to show up your opponent and beat them in battle, or use them competitively, tell your opponent, prepare to be iron-sided. Welcome back, trainers. I hope you learned so much about Aggron, Lairon, and Aron. I have a few questions for you. Are you a big fan of this line? Do you really love Steel-type? Or are you not a big fan of Steel-type? Also, if you wanted to build your own set of armor, would you ask any of these Pokemon to help? And if the answer is yes to that, what would you like your armor to look like? Would you want to look like a knight in shining armor? Would you want to look like a samurai? Or would you maybe want to look like Tony Stark? Okay, wrong kind of armor, but you get the idea. I really also want to know, would you build your own armor to have a feeling like you? Also, did you like my Shieldon and Bastiodon theory about this line? Do you think that it makes sense, or do you think I'm a little off my knocker? Well, I also have one last question. If this entire line got a regional variant, what do you think would be good with it? Personally for me, I think it would be great if it was Steel Dragon. Of course, Dialga came first, but just looking at this line definitely can scream Steel Dragon. Well, trainers, if you liked what you saw, please leave a like. If you want to answer any of the questions I just proposed to you, you want me to cover a different line, or you want to talk about something different, please comment. And as always, if you liked what you saw and you want to see more, smash that subscribe button. Thank you so much, Mitt, for requesting this video, and I hope that you enjoyed it to the fullest. And trainers, thanks for watching. Palm out!